Well, if it walks like Obama and talks like Obama, then Atlanta, consider me curious, because y'all are cooking up a senator down there that seems to be really finding his jump shot.
Welcome to Political Playlist.
All right, are we ready, guys?
Happy hour.
Happy hour.
We fucked that up so bad.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to Political Playlist Happy Hour. I'm Michael Kristoff.
I'm Anna Muskie-Goldwyn.
And I'm Anthony Barquette.
And do y'all smell what Atlanta is cooking? I mean,
Embarrassing.
folks, we are talking about the politician on our playlist, and that is none other than Senator John Ossoff. And boy, is he having a moment right now.
Why is Anna blushing already?
Anna, why are you
This is
blushing?
this is embarrassing.
Why are you blushing?
Can
what
I
are your
just
thoughts
get-
on John?
Can I just get this out of the way?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Please keep
America-
it PG. Please, PG.
Breaking news. Do you want us to leave the chat and it's just you in the audience? Yeah.
America needs a hot president. We need
Yeah.
a hot person to unite us all and that we can all look up to, and Republican, Democrat, somewhere in between. We can all agree that that attractive person has our best interest at heart. And I know that this is a very shallow thing to say, but I genuinely believe that after having a bunch of old geezers as president, to have someone young and hot who does kind of sound like Obama when he talks a little bit, but like it would
Kind
be
of.
revolutionary for the country to
Yep.
have an attractive person with an attractive family in the Oval Office, and that we can all look up to them and say, my gosh, like that is the American dream.
So
And
are we
that's
talking
the end of
about-
our episode.
are
If
we
you
talk-
like what you heard, like and subscribe. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
I don't want to make you feel more awkward, Anna, but are we talking about scandal here? Like the
Oh my-
But I mean, your dad
Wait,
is like
that was great.
yeah, your dad is like known for being the hot president, and
First of all,
Wow.
I think I know
The
it's
world-
awkward for you to say maybe,
the
but I feel
world can call my dad hot as much as they want, because you know what? I have his genes. So when people are like, oh, does it make you uncomfortable? I'm like, no, it makes me feel very self-confident.
Yeah.
Because how lucky would you be if you had a hot parent?
Hot
Just
prez.
like how lucky would we all be if we had a hot real prez, not
Yeah,
fake
listen.
prez.
No, yeah.
Listen,
But-
hot prez doesn't fall far from the tree. A new show on Spotify starring Tony Goldwyn and Anna Muskie-Goldwyn. Like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Dead. That was good. Wow.
How's
That
that
was
for a
good.
transition, kids?
Wow.
All right. Well,
okay,
let's
talk about, the real world.
Johnny O, because we love him. He's 38, which is just,
The
I
perfect
think,
age.
prime playlist age. And
Yeah.
I say that as somebody who's 40, but I said at a party I was 38 over the weekend.
No.
Anyway, accidentally.
Did
yeah.
you say it to the psychic?
I was like, no. She was like, I think you're actually older than that.
Michael went to a
Um,
party where there was a psychic, and he was afraid to talk to her because he was afraid of what she might tell him, which says a
Yeah,
lot
because-
about Michael.
Yes, I think it's maybe real. So, John Ossoff, why are we talking about him? Why is he on our playlist? Well, a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, he gave a speech, and he is not running for president, although he's very much running for president. But he is amidst a re-election campaign for Senate in the state of Georgia. And he gave a really fiery speech in Atlanta. And I think what is notable here, we're going to talk about a few aspects of this, but what he is really capturing for a lot of people right now, and I think that there is a real lack of Democrats fully messaging this at the moment, which is he is tapping into the anger and the outrage of Democrats while managing to frame the Trump corruption message through the lens of the economy. And I feel like we haven't quite seen Democrats fully master this yet. They talk about the corruption. They talk about how bad Trump is. They talk about all these flawed policies of the Trump administration. And then they start talking about economy. But what Ossoff has really capitalized, has sort of figured out here, is how to talk about corruption in a way where he's making it He's showing how it affects you. And I want to just highlight some quotes here. He was doing this thing, which I think is a very effective orator technique, where he's up there. First of all, to your point, Anna, he's hot.
He's a hottie.
He looks like a president. He's up there, and I want to come back to the hot thing in a sec. But he uses this good line. He's like, Georgia, have you seen this? Georgia, have you read about this? He really kind of like brings the crowd into the conversation, which is sort of a very subtle order thing, but it's very effective. And so some of the lines that I like, this is the Epstein class ruling our country. The Mar-a-Lago mafia has taken American corruption to spectacular new heights. He goes, it's coin operated. Money goes in, favors come out. Georgia will bow to no king. So I think what is really interesting here is he is using this corruption thing to show how it's actually taking money out of your pocket and screwing you over. Good news, bad news. He's going to get a second look. Bad news, he's going to get a second look, so I hope he's ready. What do you guys think of this moment that John Ossoff is having right now?
What I think is so important about the things you picked from that speech is that he's running in a very competitive Senate race that could potentially determine the balance of the Senate, right?
Yep.
In a very purple state that has sort of vacillated in the last few elections, that has a Republican governor at the moment. And I think that seizing on that idea of corruption and tying it to the economic well-being of the state is exactly the message that is necessary in a purple state competitive Senate election with a Republican governor, where there are a lot of moderates, a lot of probably registered independents, things like that, and where, just like everywhere else in the country, people are feeling a financial squeeze. I think that when you then look at maybe some other states where people are running that, like, people would tweak that message to either be like more sort of inflammatory or by the way, maybe less inflammatory, like whatever. But I think that he's hitting that sort of like center lane that he needs to hit to get, because we can't forget he's campaigning, right? He's not just saying this because he wants to say it. He's saying he's trying to win votes. And so I think he's hitting that lane of like, which I'm sure is based on a lot of research from his team, of how do we, I don't know the population of Georgia, I apologize, but like whatever that vote margin is and whatever those hundreds of thousands of votes or whatever it is that tens of thousands that he needs to capture, what is the special thing that's going to hit them? Mm-hmm. And I think, as we talked about in the UFC episode earlier this week, like it is the message of corruption, oligarchy like ties, and how that is affecting the everyday person. Instead of just being like, oh, well, fuck Trump. It's about the machinations of the administration that are harming people.
He's also kind of framing it in an interesting way. Dan Pfeiffer, former communications director for Obama, wrote after this that this is a speech that every Democrat should watch. And something that I thought was interesting that Ossoff was going after was Trump and Trump's fitness, but kind of in a way that we haven't fully seen so effective. So he had a line where he was talking about how in a 6-hour span, the president sent 52 tweets in a 6-hour span. And he goes, he was posting about the Obamas like a Klansman at 1 a.m. And Anthony, I'm curious, like, what do you think? He was fiery. And I feel like Democrats want somebody who's fiery right now, but not just fiery, someone who also has a vision for the future. Do you think that a 38-year-old Jewish guy from Georgia is somebody who
just had to bring the Jewish thing into it?
Well, I think it's a real factor.
I think it's a factor.
Yeah.
Well,
for starters,
someone who has received about 60 tests text messages from an ex-girlfriend in that span of time. I understand where they're coming
You
from.
get it. Okay.
You know,
Wow,
I get
okay.
it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm actually surprised John Ossoff, Senator Ossoff, hasn't gotten more shit but since being in office. And I think it's because people actually really do like him and he's
That's a
easy
good
to shit
point.
on. Like, this guy came in as the young senator. He's good looking. He's
Yep.
smart. He has a beautiful wife and family. Like, he is, you know, kind of the picture perfect politician. And he's also Jewish, which I think is playing a role in this as well, where there's a lot of Jewish money that is backing Republicans but backing Jewish candidates. And
Mhm.
and like, he very much, like, I think if he was running for president today, I'd vote for him over anyone out there. He has fiery speeches.
Yeah.
And the Republicans have not like gone against them and been like, this guy's a, you know, a crazy liberal. They haven't.
They
he
don't have a great thing to attack him on.
And
the only
it's
thing I've heard
strange to me.
is you referenced the Republican governor, that is Brian Kemp of
Yeah.
Georgia. He was on a recent interview with Jonathan Martin of Politico, who's got a new food show.
Oh, yeah.
And he was sitting down with Kemp at the Masters. And he was asking him about Ossoff and Warnock. And Kemp was like, he was kind of a little light on Warnock, soft on Warnock. He was like, yeah, you know, I disagree with Warnock, but, you know, it's whatever. And maybe, but he's like, I'll tell you, this Ossoff guy, he is real radical. And so clearly that told me two things. Either he really is a far left progressive, which I don't think he is, or Kemp is really nervous about the political potential of John Ossoff.
Yeah.
I do think he's more progressive than people think. Like, I think that what's very impressive about him is getting to what Anthony said, which is like, he has an ability by the state that he represents, by the demeanor that he has, and frankly, by the way that he looks, to come across as, like, it's like progressive and moderate clothing, right? Like, he gives people a vibe of, oh, this guy's like a senator in a swing state. He must be pretty centrist. Like, he's a white dude. You know, he's like a young, good-looking white dude. He's probably not overly progressive. Like, you compare him to someone like AOC, where it's like, she wears it like a proud scarlet letter. And it's the reason that people are saying, oh, like, she would not be a good presidential nominee because she's so polarizing in her progressive politics. I wonder if you sat her and John Ossoff down, like, if their policies would actually be that different. But the presentation of them, just by frankly, mainly I think it's the location of where they are in the country, and the races that they've had to run, that he does have, which I think is maybe what Brian Kemp probably finds threatening, an ability to cloak progressive policies or approaching progressive policies in this package that feels very palatable to independent Georgian voters.
So get this stat to this point, even more dangerous. He secured 92% of the black vote.
Wow.
That shows that he is resonating not just with white people, with black people in his state who, let's face it, helped him win that election.
Well,
in 2021.
I think that's a big challenge for, another likely presidential contender, Pete Buttigieg, who people have, marveled at his messaging ability and how he's so smart. And, he's the best, most eloquent spokesman of the Democratic Party. And that's been a real challenge for him, is getting that black support. And I think by contrast, you look at somebody like John Ossoff, and I think maybe these two are the easy comparison because they're both young, they're both good looking, they're both charismatic. I think when I look at them side by side, the thing about Ossoff that I think is notable is that, sadly, I think this country is more likely to elect the first Jewish president at the moment than they are to elect the first gay president.
I mean, I can't believe you haven't brought up James Tallarico yet. To me, James Tallarico is just a few years behind.
But Tallarico is more like a Buttigieg, I would say.
He is, but I think like nothing against Tallarico because we're gonna see how the Texas thing goes. I don't think Tallarico has the heft yet, and I don't think that he like Buttigieg was a cabinet member.
Mhm.
Ossoff is a senator. Like these people have run, and James Carville likes to say this line whenever somebody's like, "Oh, you got to see this person, like they're amazing." He's like, "Yeah, they're a good horse on paper, but can they run?" And I think we're about to see if Tallarico can run because he's going to have a really tough campaign. It's an uphill battle. I think he's got as good a shot as any, but I think that he's not yet in that presidential conversation quite yet. In my
I would
view.
also say that there's a similarity to me between Tallarico and I will say, guys, like it bums me out that we're just talking about 3 white guys. Ugh, I'm so over
Well,
it.
one of them's gay.
One of them's gay, one of them's Jewish. Yeah, fine. Okay.
Yeah, we got some diversity.
So
Yes.
So talking about Tallarico, Buttigieg, and Ossoff, Tallarico and Buttigieg to me have something in common, which I think is part of their brand that makes them attractive to a lot of people, is that their like goal is to bring down the political temperature and do it in a way by laying things out in a very calm manner, in a way that feels very unifying, in a way that I would say more with Buttigieg than Tallarico, but sometimes feels overly intellectualized. And it's why I like both of them as a sensitive woman, that I'm like, oh, they're like talking about the like utopian possibility of our world, you know? And I think there are a
sensitive
lot of
woman, Anna, you are tough as nails. Come on.
well, you can be tough and sensitive at the same time.
What
Come
is
on
that
now.
song? You make me feel.
Yeah.
Like a sensitive woman.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
Wasn't
Okay,
that wasn't that like a
That's
that
not
was like
the
a
lyric, but
song
that's
used
good.
in a soap commercial when I was a kid. I think it was
Probably.
like Dove or like yeah,
It's natural
some soap.
woman is the
Yeah.
is the
Oh,
line.
that's
Yeah.
what it is.
Oh, natural.
Yeah.
I'm also a
That's
natural
like
woman.
sensitive.
I'm a sensitive, natural, tough woman. But I think what Ossoff is quite different from the two of them is I think that he is able to actually break from that like softness in a way that, again, I appreciate the softness, but I think that there are some people who don't appreciate the softness. And I think that Ossoff, again, I do actually attribute this to him being a senator from Georgia. I think that like when you talk about the black electorate there, like he has to work for those votes, that he is not a natural part of that community. And I think Tallarico probably has to do that with Latinos in Texas as well, and with there's a large black population in Texas, but Georgia does have a very strong political machine within the black residents. And I think that there's something about Ossoff, to your point, Michael, there's like a fieriness to him
Yes.
and a toughness that I think makes him stand out in a way that I don't think someone like Buttigieg has tapped into yet. But the question is that I think Buttigieg has some stuff that he doesn't necessarily have in terms of, I think, a way of explaining things that isn't just soundbitey, but actually feels like it has a lot of depth. I appreciate that about Pete Buttigieg. And the last point I wanted to make is something that Anthony said about people not really going after him. Buttigieg was a cabinet member of an administration that has been relentlessly attacked by Republicans. Ossoff, they can't find the string. They can't find the thread to attack him on. They can't tie him to something that is an easy part of their negative messaging. And I think that that's an advantage he really has, because like it or not, Pete Buttigieg will always be associated with the Biden administration because he was part of the cabinet.
And I would second that. I think everything you just said, Anna, is spot on. And particularly if Ossoff wins re-election, which it looks like, I mean, yes, it's close, but he seems to be doing very well. His fundraising is off the charts. His polling is very favorable. But I think you hit the nail on the head here with something, which is, and I think this is what a lot of people are responding to in this speech that he gave, and one of the reasons it's going viral. He's tapped into a fiery sharpness that I think has been kind of lacking. And I absolutely agree that one of the masterful things that Buttigieg does is he goes on Fox News and he debates you and he makes you understand a complex issue in a very simple way, in a very casual way. And I think it's a real strength that he has. I haven't seen him get really fiery and feel like, oh, this guy's ready to throw down. And I feel that with, to go back to our earlier conversation our episode earlier in the week when we were talking about UFC and fighting and whatnot, I kind of feel like Ossoff is like down to have a fist fight.
Yeah, he's done a very good job at kind of staying a little bit under the radar as a young senator, and and now I think he's going to come out like he's going to be the white knight for the Democratic Party.
He has to win first. I will say, if he doesn't win this election, that's kind of a moot point.
Correct.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's interesting. We've just singled out him and Buttigieg. I can't help but wonder if that's an interesting ticket in 2028.
They might be too similar. There's sort of something like, I don't know.
Well, I had it's interesting. I had a Democrat a little bit older than me, in his 50s, so a lot older than me.
Yeah.
Say to me after the election day of last year, day after election, he was like, "Can the Democrats just run a hot white male as president
and a straight white male?" Even my gay friends have said they're like, we love
not ready
Pete,
for a gay president,
but they're like, they want to win. They don't want to.
Yeah, honestly, I think it's an interesting factor, and I think historians talk about how the pendulum swings with presidents in very opposite extremes, right? When you go president to president, Clinton to Bush, 43, very different. Bush to Obama, very different. Obama to Trump, very different. Trump to Biden, back to Trump. That there is these real sort of extremes. And so the idea of we've got this old chicken neck, dawdled, senile man in the White House. Okay, we got this virile, young, attractive guy from Georgia. Feels like the type of swing that we see historically presidential elections make.
That, and you know what? They do win that housewife vote. That's sitting there that people have always said is very hard to win. That
suburban women.
Kamala couldn't win, right? That's who's going to win this next election for the Democrats.
It's making me depressed.
I mean, the reality is
the thing is, I agree with you guys, but I'm just like, how fucking annoying is it that we're one of the only advanced democracies in the world that we can't just look at a person as a person and be like, oh, well, it can't be a woman because of this, and it can't be a gay person because of this, and it can't be the Jewish person because of this.
Really interesting to me from the women's standpoint is a lot of women have been able to step into their husband's shoes when they've died in office, and they're a lot, and or father's shoes, and there needs to be a study on this because it's like everyone rallies behind these women and realizes, of course, they're strong enough to do this and be in this position, and a lot of them become lifelong politicians.
But that's the opportunity. That's the opportunity gap between men and women. I think that for women, there always is an added layer of how can there be an opening of opportunity as opposed to where for men, there doesn't need to be an opening. Men can just step into it, sometimes completely unqualified to do so, oftentimes completely unqualified to do so. Whereas if your husband dies or it's your dad's seat or if you're, something like that, it gives that window, it makes that window of opportunity a little bit smaller. I mean, as much as I loathe the inability for our country to make progress in identity politics, I do also support a hot president. So
not my dad.
Hot press. Yeah.
Not my dad.
Well, with that being said, cheers.
Cheers. If you guys like what you're hearing, please subscribe or follow wherever you're listening or watching this podcast. And we hope to see you soon. And leave a comment because we like comments and we also like 5-star reviews. Not so much the lower stars, but 5 would be great. Thank you.